Um, okay, good evening, everybody. Hope you had a good day. So this is our second day of the P4 question-based revision session for the June 2018 exam session. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to recall what we did in the yesterday's session. The yesterday's session was actually we started off with the latest exam paper, and that was actually the December 2017 exam paper that we actually started off with. And we did discuss about this was actually question number 4 of the December 2017 exam session. We did discuss about the risk management, and in the risk management we talked about the interest rate risk management in this specific question. So this specific question that we did attempt was actually about where we discussed the forward rate agreement, we discussed interest rate futures, we discussed how to create a setup interest rate future, and in addition to this, we actually calculated the net amount with respect to the interest rate future. So that's what we did in the yesterday's session. So those of you who were there in yesterday's session, do you have any queries, any questions with respect to the yesterday's session? Okay, anyone else has any other questions? Okay, so I think you don't have any inquiries with respect to whatever that we did in the yesterday's session. So what I'm actually going to do is that I'm now going to move forward, and I'm now going to start discussing about the next question. So basically, the next question that I'm actually going to do is, I know we have not completed the question that we were attempting in the yesterday's session. But then again, what I'm actually going to do is that the only area that was left to be done in this question was about the interest rate options. So what I'm actually going to do is that I'm going to go through the interest rate options through another exam question. So we would actually be able to do it through another exam question. Now let's actually move forward. And what I would actually recommend you people to come on to question number 2 of December 2015. It's actually December 2015 question number 2. December 2015 question number 2. So December 2015 question number 2, that's what we need to actually discuss. So if you could just open up December 2015 question number 2. The question is Armstrong Group. This question of Armstrong Group actually covers up two areas. It covers up the multilateral netting with respect to the currency risk management, and it also covers up the interest rate options, etc. So what we are going to do is that we are going to start discussing about the interest rate options through this specific question. June, December 15. Okay, so we have got this December 2015 question number 2. December 2015 question number 2, the Armstrong Group. Now let's just actually discuss about this December 2015 question number 2, Armstrong Group. So what we are actually going to do is that we are going to do this arm strong group in two specific stages. The first stage is going to be, what we are going to do is that we are going to solve part B of the question. The part B of the question is actually about the interest rate futures and the interest rate options. So what I would want you to actually go through part B of the question, and then we would actually come on to part A. So let's talk about the part B of the question, because that is actually about the interest rate risk management. So can you please go through this question in 2-3 minutes, and then we could actually start off. Okay, so now let's actually start off. So basically, this exam question, which is actually the question is actually December 2015, and December 2015 question number 2. Now let's discuss. We are actually discussing part B of the question. It says the most significant transaction. Okay, in fact, we would actually be needing the relevant information from the top part of the question, which is today is 1st of September. So you do know that the important thing when dealing with the question is to know the important dates. So now is actually 1st of September. So now is actually 1st of September. So it says today is 1st of September. Now, the most significant transaction which massive company is due to undertake with company outside the Armstrong is the next 6 months is due to receive 24 million euro from Bartsley on 30th November. So what is happening is on 30th November. On 30th November, you are expected. 30th November is what? How many months from now? It's September, October, and November. It's actually 3 months from now. So what are you expecting to do? You are expecting to receive. What will you be receiving? You will be receiving 25 million euros. The treasury manager intends to invest this money for 6 months until 31st May. So what he intends to do is that the money that he will get on 30th November, he intends to invest this money up till 31st May. Up till 31st May. Now, for up till 31st May actually means 6 months. So what is he actually going to do when it will be used to fund the major capital expenditure? However, the treasury manager is concerned about changes in interest rates, and predictions in the media are a 0.5% rise in the interest rate to a 0.5% fall. So basically what they are expecting is they're expecting the LIBOR, which is the interest rate, either going to go up by 0.5% or going to go down by 0.5%. So it's either going to be go up by 0.5% or it's going to go down by 0.5%. Now it says because of the certainty, the treasury manager has decided to protect using derivatives. The treasury manager wishes to take advantage of favorable interest rate movement. Therefore, she is considering options on interest rate futures or interest rate collars as possible methods of hedging, but not the interest rate futures. So the question specifically says that they don't want the interest rate futures. They don't want the interest rate futures. Now see, what actually happens is that the company can invest at LIBOR minus 40 basis point, and LIBOR is currently 3.6%. So what is actually happening is LIBOR is presently 3.6%, and you could expect the LIBOR to go up to 4.1%, or you can expect the LIBOR to go down to 3.1%. So the LIBOR is either going to go up to 4.1 or going to go down to 3.1. And your investment rate is actually LIBOR minus 40 basis points. So it's actually LIBOR minus 0.4%. Now what next? The treasury manager has obtained the following information on the euro futures and options. She is ignoring margin requirements. What exactly are the margin requirements? I'm going to explain to you in a while. It says 3-month euro futures with a contract size of 1 million, contract tick size, etc. are for the September, December, and the March. And then it says the options on the 3-month euro futures are so and so, contract, tick size, and option premiums, etc. It can be assumed that the settlement of the contract is at the end of the month. So it's the same assumption that the contracts are going to expire at the end of the month. And also, it can be assumed that basis diminishes to zero. Now, what does it say? The question's requirement is based on the choice of options on futures or collars. Assuming that company does not face any basis risk, recommend a hedging strategy for the 25 million euro receipt. Now, a very important thing is, first of all, what we actually need to do is that we need to understand that what exactly are the interest rate options. What exactly are the interest rate options? So the interest rate options are also termed as interest rate guarantees. Interest rate options are also termed as interest rate guarantees. Now, what exactly is the interest rate option and the interest rate guarantee? Let's talk about it. So, the interest rate option or the interest rate guarantee, how does it actually operate? Basically, what happens is, assume that you are a borrower. And presently you can borrow at a rate of 10%. The risk that you are facing is that the interest rates will go up to 12%. But at the same time, you do consider that there is a likelihood that these interest rates could actually go down. You're also facing that there's a likelihood these interest rates could go down to 8%. You actually want to protect yourself from this upward movement. You want to avoid it. But at the same time, if there is a downward movement, which is a positive movement in favor of you, so you would probably want to encash it. So in such a scenario, a relevant derivative to use is going to be the interest rate option. Why? Because the interest rate option would allow you to protect against the upside movement, but at the same time, it would help you to take advantage of the downside of the favorable movements. So the interest rate option is going to give you an advantage that you could actually protect against the upward movement, but you can protect yourself. You can actually gain advantage of the downside movement. So now what exactly is going to happen? Now see, so basically what happens is the interest rate options, these options are of two types. They are either the over the counter interest rate options, or they are exchange traded interest rate options. Now what are over the counter and what are the exchange traded interest rate options? So the over the counter interest rate options are actually termed as cap or floor. They are termed as cap or floor. A cap is basically an option that fixes the maximum rate. That fixes the maximum rate. A cap is an option that fixes the maximum rate, and floor is an option that fixes the minimum rate. That fixes the minimum rate. Now, let's just try to understand what exactly is a cap and what exactly is a floor. Assume that now the interest rate is 10% and I am actually a borrower. So if I'm a borrower, what would happen is I actually am facing a risk that if the interest rates move up, let's say to 12% or 13%, so I don't want to be borrowing at that specific 12, 13%. So if I don't want to be borrowing at 12, 13%, then what do I need to do? I need to actually undertake an option. So the option that I'm actually going to buy is going to be termed as a cap. The cap is going to cap my maximum rate. It's going to fix my maximum rate. So just in case if the interest rate go up to, let's say, 13.3%, I'm immediately going to exercise my cap and I'm going to end up paying only 13%. I'm repeating it again. Just in case if the interest rates go up beyond 13%, I'm going to exercise my interest rate cap and I'm going to restrict my interest rate cost to 13%. So basically, this is how a cap works for a borrower. That it fixes the maximum rate. Now let's move forward. If I am a lender, if I am somebody who intends to deposit the money into the bank in the near future, presently the interest rates are 10%. I can deposit at 10% rate. Now, what is my risk? My risk is that the interest rates are going to go down and I'm not going to be getting the same return. So what I want to do is that I want to protect my risk to 8%. I don't want the interest rates to go down below 8%. So what will I do? I would actually go for an interest rate floor because it is actually going to fix my minimum rate. It is going to fix my minimum rate. So what's a cap? What's a floor? A borrower goes for a cap. A lender goes for a floor because borrower wants to fix maximum rate. The lender wants to fix the minimum rate. Now let's move forward. So I'm going to repeat it again. The borrower wants to fix the maximum rate and the lender wants to fix the minimum rate. Now you do know one thing with the options, that in case of the options, you have to pay a premium. The premium is actually a price of the option and the premium is always paid upfront. Premium is the price of the option and it is always paid upfront. Now, what do you mean by it's always paid upfront? It's actually paid at the time of buying the option, irrespective of whether you exercise it or you don't exercise it, you have to pay the premium. Now, let's move forward. At times, what happens is that the entity, because you see, if you buy a cap, so maybe possible you might have to pay a premium of 0.2%. So no matter what happens, your maximum interest rate would actually be 13% plus 0.2%. This 0.2% is going to be unavoidable cost. This 0.2% is the unavoidable cost. Generally speaking, using the options is an expensive choice. Why? Because the options require you to pay a premium, which is upfront, which is non-refundable. So generally speaking, the entities, they don't go for the options because in the case of the options, they are able to take the advantage of the favorable movements, but they are actually committed to pay a premium, which is an upfront payment, no matter you exercise the option, you don't exercise the option. So what the entities they do is that they try to minimize the interest rate options. And the approach or the strategy to minimize the interest rate options is actually to enter into the interest rate, is to create an interest rate collar. So I'm actually going to discuss that what happens is what exactly is an interest rate collar. So let's discuss about it. An interest rate collar is actually a simultaneous interest rate collar is a simultaneous purchase or sale of cap and floor to reduce option premium cost. So what is the interest rate collar? Interest rate collar is a simultaneous purchase or sale of a cap and a floor to reduce the option premium cost. To reduce the option premium cost. Well, no, swap is very different. Swap is very different. I'm just gonna explain it. Don't worry. So what's an interest rate collar? An interest rate collar is a technique, is a approach in which you simultaneously buy or sell an interest rate option in order to actually reduce the option premium cost. Now let's discuss. So assume that you are a borrower. Presently the interest rate is 10%. You have obtained a cap at 12%. You have bought a cap at 12%. So buying a cap, you've actually ended up paying a premium of 0.3%, let's say. Mohammed Zain, you are asking that you are unable to obtain the link through iPhone 6. I think the administrator has actually told you people that you need to use the Google Chrome browser, or you might actually have to open the application of GoToWebinar to access the link. So Zain, I think you might actually have to download the application, then you can access it. Okay, now let's move forward. Let's actually move forward. So let's say that there is a cap of 12%, and in order to buy a cap, you have to pay a premium of 0.3%. So that means this premium of 0.3% is a permanent cost that you have borne. Now what next? Next situation is I want to reduce this cost. Now if I want to reduce this cost, what is the approach of doing it? If I need to reduce this cost, what I can do is that I can sell a floor at, let's say, 8%. And if I'm going to sell the floor, who is actually going to buy this floor? This floor is going to be bought by some lender. This floor is going to be bought by some lender. And what I'm actually going to do is that I'm going to charge him some cost for the premium of the option that I've actually sold him. So probably might be possible that I might charge him a cost of 0.2%. Now see one thing. We have bought an interest rate cap, which is going to be fixing our interest rate cost maximum to 12%. And we have sold a floor, which is going to be restricting our cost to 8%, and we can't go below this. Now, in case if the interest rate go above this 12%, so what we are going to do is that we are going to exercise our cap and our cost would be restricted to 12%. In case if the interest rate go down to, let's say, 7%, the lender is going to exercise his floor and the interest rate would be restricted to 8%. So if you create an interest rate collar, so in case of an interest rate collar, your interest rate fluctuates between 8% and 12%. Your interest rate fluctuates, your interest cost fluctuates between 8% and 12%. Now, so what exactly is the advantage and what is the disadvantage? The advantage of an interest rate collar is your overall premium cost, which would have been 0.3%, has now been reduced to 0.1% because you did pay 0.3% for the cap, but you ended up achieving a 0.2% by selling the floor. And what is the disadvantage? The disadvantage of this interest rate collar is that you are unable to take advantage of the downside movement because you need to be restricted to 8% only. Okay, I hope everybody is clear on this. Okay, uh, now somebody is asking that can you explain the upside and downside? So upside and downside is actually the interest rates going up, and downside is interest rate going down. Okay, somebody is asking, I did not get the disadvantage. Okay, now the disadvantage is, you see, what happens is you are a borrower. Currently, the interest rates were 8%, and you wanted to actually take advantage of the favorable interest rate movement, which is actually the downward movement of the interest rate. Now, if the interest rates would have gone down below 10%, you would have taken advantage by actually paying interest of whatever percentage, whether that be 6%, 7%, 5%. But if you enter into a collar, so what happens is you have actually sold a floor at 8%. Now you have sold a floor at 8% to somebody who is actually a lender. So if the interest rates are going to go down go down below 8%, then what happens is you actually end up paying 8%, less than 8% to your bank. But there is actually a settlement similar to the settlement we did in FRA with the person to whom you have actually sold the floor, that you would have to actually make an adjustment and settlement with that person. Like for example, you actually ended up borrowing from the bank at 6%, so you paid 6% to the bank. Now there is actually a settlement under the collar or under the option of 2% that you will have to bear. So no matter what happens, your interest cost is going to be restricted to 8%. You can't go down below 8%. Had there been no collar, you would have gone down below 8% also. So, Nakul Agrawal, is it clear now? Okay, perfect. Ruth, you are asking for the advantage. Okay, I'm actually going to explain to you the advantage. You see, the advantage of the interest rate collar is that it reduces your premium cost. If you would have been buying a cap only, so then you would have been paying this premium of 0.3%. If you would have been buying the cap, you would have been paying a premium of 0.3%. But since you have actually bought a cap and at the same time you have simultaneously sold a floor, so what is actually happening is you have actually incurred a 0.3% cost, but you have received 0.2%. So resultingly, the net cost is 0.1%. Is it okay now? Okay, perfect. Now let's move forward. So we have the basic understanding of what an interest rate option is and what an interest rate collar is. Now, so I've actually discussed about the over-the-counter interest rate options. I've not gone through the exchange traded interest rate option. So what I'm actually going to do now is I'm going to start discussing about the exchange traded interest rate option. Now, very important thing to understand is that the exchange traded interest rate options are actually options on IRF. They're actually options on interest rate future. Okay, what exactly do you mean by this? Now, this is very important. They are actually not interest rate options. They are options on interest rate futures. That is, they are the option to buy or option to sell interest rate futures. They are options on interest rate future. They are option to buy or option to sell interest rate future. So basically, if there is a question which comes in for the interest rate options, you can't actually go directly and work with an interest rate option. First of all, you would have to perform the calculation for the interest rate future. Once you have performed the calculation for the interest rate future, then you can actually go for the interest rate options. Okay, so now let's see. It's a bit technical, that how exactly is it all going to operate, but I'm going to write down few steps and then we are going to discuss. Okay, Tasnua is asking why do we need to calculate the futures before we go for options? So I'm just going to explain. Just wait for a while. Can you please copy this so that I can move forward? Okay, now let's see. So let's just discuss about it. Now, first of all, when we talk about the options, so you need to understand that which options should we actually go for. So which options should we actually go for? There are two things that you need to decide. That number one of them is the maturity, that which maturity you will go for. And the second thing is it going to be a put option or is it going to be a call option? So now let's just try to understand. A borrower always go for a put option and a lender always go for a call option. A borrower always goes for the put option. This put option represents a cap. This call option represents a floor. Now somebody amongst you would actually ask that why exactly does this happen this way? So I'm actually going to explain to you people in a while. Right now, actually, just look at it that a borrower goes for a put and the lender goes for a call. So the first thing is identify which options. So which options is borrower would go for a put and the lender would go for a call. Now, if in this case, if I talk about this specific case, what is happening in this case? In this case, you are expecting to receive some payment and you are expected to deposit this payment for a period of 6 months until 31st May. So that means you are a lender. You are not a borrower. You are a lender. You actually would be needing a floor. Now see. So basically, number one is you need a floor, okay, or you need a call option. Now, important thing is which maturity. The important thing is which maturity. Now, which maturity you need to understand. The same thing that we discussed in the interest rate future yesterday. And what did we discuss in the interest rate future? We said that it is now 1st of September. 30th November, you are actually expected to deposit the money into the bank up till 31st May. So basically, how is it a lender? Okay. There's a question that how is it a lender? You need to understand the question here that what is the company planning to do? The company is expected to receive this money. And when they are expected to receive this money, they would actually deposit it into the bank. So if they're going to deposit it into the bank, they're lender. Okay, now let's move forward. So basically what has happened is, now is 1st of September. They are actually going to deposit the money on 30th December. They're going to deposit the money on 30th of November for a period of 6 months up till 31st May. So basically this is going to be, now is the date. You're going to be facing risk for this period only. This is the only period for which you are facing a risk. Once you have deposited the money, there is no risk. There is no risk. So what we are going to do is that we are going to go for a maturity which is immediately after this 30th November. We are going to go for a maturity which is immediately after this 30th November. Now what is that maturity going to be? Let's talk. Now that maturity is going to be, you would say that after 30th November, what do we have? We have, when we talk about the options, so we have got call options September, December and March. So that means we would actually have 31st December options, means you would go for the December calls. Now step number 2, number of contracts. The number of contracts would be calculated in the similar manner as we did for the futures in the yesterday's class. And how is that going to be? It's going to be the amount divided by contract size multiplied by the period of lending divided by contract maturity divided by contract maturity. Now what exactly is this all about? Now see, if we talk about the amount that we are actually going to be depositing is 25 million, divided by 1 million is the size. So it's euro 25 million, it's euro 1 million. Multiply by the lending period. How much is the lending period? The lending period is going to be for a period of 6 months and the contract has a maturity of 3 months. So we end up getting the 50 contracts. So step number 2 is we need 50 contracts. So we have gone through 50 contracts also. Now what is going to be step number 3? The step number 3 is going to be which strike price. Step number 3 is going to be which strike price. You have got a choice of 2 strike price over here, a 96.5 or 97. You have got a choice of 2 strike price which is 96.5 or 97. Now there are 2 ways of actually dealing with it. And what are those 2 ways of dealing with it? Let's just try to understand. You see, there is something which is actually termed as, see here. Assume that there is a strike price of 96.5. Now what is this indicating? We are going for calls and that too of December calls. Now it actually indicates this 0.182 is 0.182 is percentage and it reflects the premium. It's a percentage and it reflects the premium. Now what exactly do we mean by the premium? How do we calculate the premium amount? The premium amount is calculated this way. The premium percentage multiplied by contract size multiply by 3 upon 12. Multiply by 3 upon 12. Why? Because the contract is for a period of 3 months. So it's 0.182% multiplied by contract size. Every contract is actually of 1 million euro. So it's a 1 million euro multiplied by 3 upon 12. So how much is going to be the interest rate? How much is going to be the premium? Can somebody please confirm how much is going to be the premium? $45,500 or 455,000. 45,500. It's 0.182%. Okay, now, so basically what happens is we need to establish the strike price. Now, how exactly would you establish the strike price? So there are actually two approaches that the examiner allows. One of them is you can either perform the calculation on both the strike price, or you can actually demonstrate that how you would choose a one single strike price. So both of the options are allowed. You can demonstrate both the strike price, you can demonstrate the calculation based on both the strike price, which is obviously time consuming, or alternatively what you could do is that you can go for one single strike price. Now how exactly is this going to happen? Now you need to understand one thing. This 96.5, if I convert this into the percentage, so 100 minus 96.5 is going to be what? It's going to be 3.5%. 100 minus 96.5 is going to be 3.5%. Now what are we going to do? We're going to say 3.5% is actually an inflow, and the premium that you are paying of 0.182%, that's actually an outflow. So how much is going to be the net rate that you are going to achieve? What is going to be the net rate that you are going to achieve? 3.5 minus 0.182. So it is going to give you 3.318%. What is the net rate? The net rate is 3.318%. Now what next? The other strike price is 97. So what you can do is that 100 minus 97 gives you 3%. Minus, you have 0.032% as the relevant premium, 0.032%. So how much is it? 2.968%. As a lender, what your choice is going to be, you would want to maximize the net rate. You would want to maximize the return after deducting the premium. Because you see, the strike price is what we are going to get because we are a lender. We are actually going to receive this interest. And the premium is what we are going to pay. So premium is going to be an outflow. So how exactly are you going to calculate the net? The net amount is going to be, this is an inflow and the premium is actually an outflow. So the net rate comes out to be 3.318% or 2.968%. So basically, since we are a lender and we want to maximize, this 3.318% is the best rate that we can get, and this is at the strike price of 96. So in short, the lender's hedge of the interest rate options is going to be constructed this way, that they would have to buy how many contracts? 50 December calls with a strike price of 96.50. So this is the overall hedge strategy. Even if you construct this hedge strategy, you get a very good marks. Even if you construct this hedge strategy, you don't perform calculation ahead, you still get at least half a marks. Okay, somebody is asking why a strike price of 96.5. As I explained just now, that you have got a choice, that you can either go for a strike price of 96.5 or you can go for a strike price of 97. Now why have I got 96.5? Because when I convert this 96.5, I say 100 minus 96.5, I get 3.5%. If I convert 100 minus 97, I get 3%. So this actually, since I'm a lender, I'm going to get this interest. I'm going to get 3%. I'm going to get 3.5%. and the premium is an outflow. So if the premium is an outflow, so what is going to happen? What is going to happen is that I will receive this interest and I will pay off the premium. So net result is going to be that 3.318% is the net rate that I'm going to get. Do you get it now? Lin Thiu, do you get it now? For put, the premium will be added, because when you say put is for borrower. The borrower is already paying the interest and he would also pay the premium. So both are going to be outflows. So you need to add them up. Uh, yes, Ruth Mutko, this is how it is. 3.18% is a higher floor. That's why we go for it. And Rabiba Rafiq, you are actually asking that you gave us an example. Um, well, actually, you don't have two rates available here. You have got one rate. I mean, you have got a choice that which option do you want to buy. And you could see that since the option of 96.5 is more favorable for you people, therefore 96.5 has got a higher premium as compared to the 96.5 has got a higher premium as compared to the 97. Okay, now let's move forward. So basically we have constructed the hedge that you need to buy 50 December calls with a strike price of 96.5 now. Now, what happens? I am repeating it again. There are options on interest rate futures. There are options on interest rate futures. So what is going to happen? Everything is going to happen here on 1st of September. We have constructed the hedge on 1st of September. Now, what would happen is on 30th November, 30th November, what would happen is we would actually deposit money. We would actually deposit money, number two, and we would decide if we need to exercise, interest rate option. So what is going to happen on 30th of November? You see, first thing that has happened is on the 1st of September, on the 1st of September, you have actually created a hedge. And on the 30th of November, what will happen is you would actually deposit the money into the bank and you would decide if you need to exercise the interest rate option or not. Tasnuva, I've already created a WhatsApp group. The link to the group is actually being placed by our admin here um, on the chat window. I think I'll ask the admin guy to send it again. Now see, so basically the next important thing is that what is going to happen on 30th November. So what is actually going to happen on 30th November is one of them is the LIBOR is either going to increase by 0.5% or is going to decrease by 0.5%. Now if the LIBOR is going to decrease by 0.5% or increase by 0.5%, so LIBOR is going to be presently it's going to be 4.1%, it's going to be 3.1%, and the deposit rate is going to be 0. What is going to be the spread? It's zero point 0.4. How much is the spread? The spread is 0.4%, right? So it's 4.1 minus 0.4 gives you 3.7%, minus 0.4% gives you 2.7%. So interest received, what do we need to calculate? We need to calculate the interest received. So interest received is going to be the amount of money that we are actually getting. It's 25 million euro multiply by this X percent and multiply by 6 upon 12. So can you please advise how much is it going to be for the 6 month, the interest received? Um, 462,500 and 337,500. So it is going to be 462,500 and 337,500. Now, there is actually going to be the option premium. How much is going to be the option premium? 0.182% multiplied by 1 million into 3 upon 12 multiplied by 50, because we have got a 50 contracts. How much is it going to be? 22,750. Okay, so we have got actually the interest received and we have got the premium. Now what next? The next situation is actually the gain or loss on using options. So you see, there is never going to be a loss. The gain would be there, but there is never going to be a loss. Now, how would we actually get to know the gain on the options? Everybody gets it, like there is going to be no loss, there is only going to be gain. Now see, what would happen is you would have to perform the calculations, but I am actually going to skip the calculation. I would actually use the examiner's answer to see the amount. What would happen is the spot rate is 4.1% or 3.1%. The interest rate future price would have to be calculated at this spot rate. And then you've got the option, you've got the call option, which is 96.5 and 96.5. You would decide if you need to exercise it. You would decide if you need to exercise it. For all of you who are actually a bit worried that what is happening, so I'm just going to explain to you. Just wait for a while. So what have we done up till now? We've actually created the options hedge. And once we have created the options hedge, so we said that we are actually going to deposit the money. And the money is going to be deposited earning an interest of XYZ. The premium cost was a mandatory cost, so we have paid the premium cost. And the next situation is actually there's going to be a gain on using options. Either there's going to be nothing on options or there's going to be a gain on using the option. Now, how would we get the gain on using the options? So you see what happens is on 30th of November, when we have actually received the money and when we have actually deposited the money, so what we are actually going to do is that we are going to calculate the value of the interest rate futures at that date. We're going to calculate the value of interest rate futures on that date. Now, what exactly is going to be the value of interest rate futures on that date? As I discussed, in order to save time, I'm avoiding the calculation of the interest rate futures because I already did it in the yesterday's class. What I'm simply going to do is that I'm going to pick up the price from here. So it is actually 95.74, 95.74 and 96.74. So it is 95.74 and 96.74. Now, what is going to happen? You've got an option on interest rate future. That means you've got a choice that you can decide if you want to exercise this option or not. Now, what option do you have? You have a call option. That means you have an option to buy interest rate future. Now, do you want to buy? The question mark is, do you want to buy? Now, everything that's going to happen when using the interest rate option is going to happen on the borrowing or the lending date. In this case, it's 30th November. So on 30th November, the interest rate futures for December are trading at 95.74 when the interest rates have gone up by 0.5%. They're trading at 96.74 when the interest rates have gone down by 0.5%. And we've got a call option. That means we can buy at 96.5. So now, if we actually exercise this option, that means we buy at 96.5 and we sell at 95.74. So is it worthy doing it? The answer is no. So we're not going to exercise. I'm repeating it again. Now, why am I repeating it again? Just listen to it. Just see. Now, what happens is, what you need to do is that you need to understand this concept. Now, what is this concept? You have a call option. That means you can buy. So if you're going to buy, you're going to pay this amount. And what would happen is that the interest rate future, the market is 95.74. So if I'm going to buy at 96.5 and I'm going to sell at 95.74, I'm going to have a loss. So I'm not going to exercise it. But in this case, yes. Why? Because I'm going to buy at 96.5 and I'm going to sell at 96.74. So I'm actually going to have an advantage to it. So I hope you got it. Now, what is actually going to happen? So there is going to be no gain or loss in this scenario, but you will have a gain in this scenario. What is going to be that gain? You have actually bought at 96.5, you have sold at 96.74, so you have got a gain of 0.24%. Do you people get it? Okay. What I'm actually going to do is that I'm going to have a short break for prayers. So we are going to start off at in 10 minutes time. We are going to start off. So the prayers break resumes at 7:20 p.m. Okay, so welcome back. Can you please confirm that if you people did get the workings for this 0.24% gain? Are you people okay with this? Okay, are you people okay with this? Now let's move forward. So basically we did discuss about 0.24% of the gain. So this 0.24% gain, how is it actually going to translate? So what is going to happen is it's going to be 0.24% multiply by 50 contracts. Every contract is for 1 million. Multiply by 3 upon 12. So can you please share that how much is the gain amount? Can you share how much is the gain amount? Or it's okay, 30,000. So it's actually 30,000. Now, if we see, do you people get it? Okay. So basically, we have actually performed a calculation on the interest rate options. So we have understood one thing, that these are the options on interest rate futures. These are the options on interest rate futures. Now, what exactly do we mean by this? That means that we have actually obtained, we have actually purchased an option to buy or option to sell the interest rate future. Is it okay now? Okay, now let's move forward. So this question required us to perform the calculation for the interest rate option, and I told you that there are two ways of doing it, and one of them was actually that we could actually use both the strike price, we could perform the calculation on both the strike price, or alternatively what we can do is that we can use one single strike price, but we need to tell them that the reason, that how exactly have we been able to establish that one single strike price. So this is how it is. This is done now. The next part of this question is that the question actually requires us that we need to also recommend that how exactly are the interest rate collars would be created for this scenario. That how the interest rate collars would be created in this specific scenario. Now let's talk about the interest rate collars, that how do the interest rate collars actually operate. You do know that when it comes to the interest rate collars, so we actually are going to create the collar by buying a call option, because we need to buy a floor, and we are going to sell the put option, which because we need to sell a cap. Why? Because we are a lender. We need to buy a floor and we need to sell a cap. Okay. The options that we are, that the strike price that are available to us are, the strike price that are actually available to us are 96.5 and 97. 96.5 is 3.5%, 97 is 3%. 96.5 is 3.5%, and 97 is actually 3%. Now what actually you need to do is that you need to be able to understand that what are the various combinations that we can actually create. The various combinations that we can actually create is that we can have a call, and we can have a put of either 3% or 3%. We can have it at 3% and 3.5%, and we can have both at 3.5% and 3.5%. So how can we create a collar? We can create a collar like this. We can have either a call at 3% and put at 3%. We can have a call at 3% and put at 3.5%. We can have a call at 3.5 and we can have a put at 3.5. So these are the various combinations that we can use. These are the various combinations that we can use in order for the collar hedge to be constructed. Now, you do understand this thing that this and this and this. What is actually going to be? This is 97, this is 97. This is 97, this is 96.5. This is 96.5, this is 96.5. So what is actually going to happen is, since we are a lender, so what is going to happen is we are actually going to buy this call and we are going to sell this put. So how do we actually perform the calculation? We perform the calculation this way. That the option number one, combination number one, 3% is the interest that we will receive. And if we are going to receive 3% as the interest, so we have actually bought a call of December. So we are actually going to pay 0.182% interest. And we are actually going to, the put is at actually 3% again, 90s. Sorry, my apologies. Actually made a mistake. So it's 3% minus. How much is it going to be? 3% minus 0.032. And you will actually add up what? What are you going to add up? You're going to add up 0.347. What is the net rate that we'll get? 3 minus 0.032. And we will add up 0.347. So the net rate is 3.315%. 3.315%. What is the second case going to be? The second case is going to be, you would say that the second case is 3% and 3.5%. So it's 3% minus 0.032 but plus. Now the put option that we have actually sold is for 96.5, so it would be 0.123%, 0.123%. So how much does it turn out to be? 3 minus 0.032 plus 0.123. So it is 3.091%. And the third one of them is 3.5 and 3.5. So it's 3.5% minus 0.182% plus 0.123. .441%. So if this is gonna be 3.441%, so if 3.441% is on this specific option, which is you have actually got going to the collar is going to be created as buy call at 96.5 and sell put at 96.5. Is it okay now? Is it okay for you people? I'm not getting an answer from you people, so please can you people comment so that I can actually move forward easily. Zoibali, I can repeat if you want, but I would actually suggest that you go through the calculations again, these calculations that I've performed. You can have a quick review of these calculations, and then I could actually answer your question, just in case if you are unable to understand. Okay, see, what did I tell? I told you people that if you have to create an interest rate collar, so interest rate collar, how would it be created? Interest rate collar, since the case is actually for a lender, so the lender's case is going to be the lender is gonna buy a floor and he is gonna sell a cap. He's gonna buy a floor and he's gonna sell a cap. So if he's gonna buy a floor and he's gonna sell a cap, so if we actually express it in terms of traded options, we are gonna say buy, call, and sell put. We're gonna say buy, call, sell put. Now we have got two strike prices available. One of them is 96.5 and the other one of them is 97. The 96.5 price is 3.5%, 97 is actually 3%. Now, if 96.5 is 3.5% and 97 is 3%, so how exactly is this all going to operate? All of this is going to operate like this, that we can have a combination. We can have a call at 3%, we can have a put at 3%. We can have a call at 3%, we can have a put at 3.5%, and we can have a call and put at both 3.5%. So now what we are actually going to do is that we are going to calculate the net interest that we will achieve if we use this combination. So if we have a call at 3%, the 3% is the inflow, the interest that we'll get. And at the same time, since in order to obtain this 3% interest, you need to buy a call at 97. 97 call has a strike price of 0.032, so you need to pay 0.02. And then you need to sell a put. So if you're going to sell the put at 97, you will receive a premium of 0.347. So you would end up standing at a net of 3.315%. Next, 3% is basically because of 97. So you pay this premium and you actually sell this 96.5. So you receive this premium. So the net is 3.091. Okay. And similarly, 3.5%, we bought it. So we paid this interest premium and we have sold at 96.5, so we receive this premium. So resultingly, the net rate is highest at this value, which is when you actually buy and sell a call and a put at 96.5. Okay, there is a student who is actually asking a question, and the question that they are actually asking is that why did you not create a combination that you went for a call of 3.5 and you went for a put of 3%? Now let's please try to understand. Put means cap, call means floor. How is it possible that I have got a floor at 3.5% and I've got a cap at 3%? It is not possible. It is impossible. The cap or floor would actually be at the same rate either, or cap is at a higher rate and the floor is at a lower rate. So if Javed, I will go through the interest rate swaps now immediately. The students, you are requested to join the WhatsApp link so that I could actually keep on updating you about the questions for the upcoming sessions also. Okay, is it clear now? Now the question's requirement was, should the company go for the interest rate options or should the company go for the interest rate collars? So we have actually got that when it comes to the interest rate collar, you have got a net rate of 3.44%. And if we go for the interest rate options, in the case of interest rate options, the rate that you are going to achieve is going to be this 439,750. In fact, no, this 344,750 divided by 25 million multiplied by 12 upon 5. So how much percentage is it? How much is it? Divide by 6. It's not divided by 5, it's divided by 6 because you have actually invested for a period of 6 years. What is the rate? 3.3? 2.8%. Okay. And if we calculate on this, 439,750, 3.5%. Okay. So you see, in case if we go to exercise the option, we get 2.8%. If we don't exercise the option, we might end up getting 3.5%. But if we create an interest rate collar, we end up getting 3.44%. So it's better to have an interest rate collar where you can actually go for 3.44%. Even the net rate that we achieved here was 3.318%, which was lower than the interest rate collar. So interest rate collar is an advisable choice here. So what is an advisable choice in this scenario? It's the interest rate collars. Okay, so we are done with it. I have a question on interest rate swap also, but I'm actually going to cover that up in the tomorrow's session. What I'm actually going to do right now is this question, which is the Armstrong group. There's a part A to this question, and what is part A to this question? If you go through the part A to this question, the part A to this question is about the netting. So let's actually talk about part A of this question, that how exactly can we solve the part A of this question. Can you people please go through this part A for a minute, and then we can start discussing. 7:55 पे डालना। Okay, let's talk about it. So basically, this question is actually on a multilateral netting. For those of you who actually are not aware of multilateral netting, I would give a quick overview of what multilateral netting is. So basically, you see what happens is when we talk about the foreign exchange risk, so we adopt various strategies, various approaches in order to reduce this foreign exchange risk. Now, what are the various approaches and the various strategies? So amongst the various approaches, we have got an approach which is called a netting. Now, what exactly is netting? Netting is other name for the word contra. So netting is actually to settle on a net basis. Netting actually means settle on a net basis. So when we settle on a net basis, that is actually considered to be netting. So what is netting? Netting is to settle on a net basis. We've got two types of netting. What are two types of netting? One of them is bilateral netting, and the other one of them is multilateral netting. One of them is a bilateral netting and the other one of them is a multilateral netting. What exactly is the difference between this bilateral and the multilateral netting? So bilateral netting is between two entities. Bilateral netting is between two entities and multilateral netting is between multiple entities. Between multiple entities. Now, so how exactly does this bilateral and the multilateral netting operates? Let's actually talk about it. If I talk about this multilateral netting, then the key steps for the multilateral netting are we need to convert all transactions into settlement currency. The first thing that we need to do is that we need to convert all transactions into the settlement currency. And then once we have converted all transactions into the settlement currency, then what we actually do is that we establish net payable slash receivable, and then we settle on a net basis. And then we settle on a net basis. So what do? When we talk about the multilateral netting, the first thing that you need to do is that you need to convert all the transactions into the settlement currency. You need to establish the net payable or receivable, and then you need to settle on a net basis. What do you need to settle on a net basis? Now let's discuss. If we discuss about it in this scenario, what is actually happening? In this scenario, what is actually happening is Armstrong is a multinational group of company, and today is 1st September. The treasury manager at Massey Company, one of the Armstrong subsidiary based in Europe, has just received notification from the group's head office that introduced a system of netting to settle balances owed within the group companies every 6 months. Previously, intergroup de-indebtedness was settled between the two companies concerned. The predicted balance owing to and owed by the group companies at the end of February are as follows. So it's owed by means who's going to be payable to whom. And this is actually receivable by, so it's actually local currency zone. So the predicted exchange rates and the calculations of the balances to be settled are as follows. Now, what does the question say? The question says settlement will be made in dollars, the currency of Armstrong's parent company. Settlement will be made in the order that the company owing the largest net amount in dollars will first settle with the amount owed the smallest net amount. DKR is the Danish krone, SAR is South African rand, USD is US United States dollar, and Euro is EU is Euro. So now what happens is the first thing that we actually need to do is that we need to convert all these transactions. We need to convert all these transactions into dollar first, because till the time you don't convert these transactions into dollar, then it's actually not going to be easy. So basically what we need to do is that we need to convert these transactions into the dollar first. So if I tell you people to convert these transactions into the dollar, I've actually written the transactions here. The transactions are written here. Now we need to convert them into US dollar. So what are we going to do? We're going to use these exchange rates. If you want to multiply, you need to use this column. If you want to divide, you need to use this row. If you want to multiply, you need to use this column. If you want to divide, you need to use this row. So you can go for both of them. Usually the people are very comfortable with multiplication. So this is actually going to be multiplied with 1. So it's US dollar 12.17. The 42.65 is going to be multiplied. 42.65 is going to be multiplied with 0.0932. 0.0932 gives you the dollar. This DKR is going to be multiplied with, again, the rate 0.1823, and then the euros of and if we have euro 1.55, it's going to be multiplied with the rate of 1.3591. So can somebody please share the amount of the transactions in terms of dollar? Can you please share it? Can somebody please share the amount? Okay, and what else? Okay, are these figures correct now? Or have I made some mistake? Because I'm actually copying from the answers that you people have sent. So I might actually, because I picked up one answer from one student and picked up another answer from another student. So I might have actually made a bit of a mistake in picking up those answers. Okay, now let's move forward. So basically, the first thing when it comes to the multilateral netting is actually to convert all transactions into settlement currency. So you need to do is that you need to convert all transactions into settlement currency. Once you have converted all transaction into settlement currency, the next situation is you need to create a net payable or net receivable. Now, how do we create a net payable or net receivable? Let's talk about it. So the net payable or net receivable is created by actually creating a transaction matrix. Now, what you could actually do for the creation of the transaction matrix is you could actually say that for the receipts, read across, and for the payments, read downwards. So we could actually say that we could actually create a matrix like this. For the payments, you need to read downwards, and for the receipts, you need to read across. So you need to put in the transaction in terms of dollar in this specific matrix. So how exactly are we going to put it in this matrix? Let's see. Now the first transaction that we had was actually, it was, I think I need to just move this whole table a bit downwards. Now see, the first transaction was, it was Armstrong who had to pay to Horan. So we are saying that receipts need, the payments need to be read downwards. The receipts need to be read across. So Horan has to receive from Armstrong. Next is actually Horan has to pay to Messi. How much the Horan has to pay to Messi? It's actually $3.97. And the next thing is, it's actually the next is the Giffen has to pay. Whom do they have to pay? They have to pay to Armstrong. How much do they have to pay? 3.88. Who is next? It's actually Messi who has to pay to Armstrong. How much do they have to pay? They have to pay 19.78. Then who has to pay? Who has to pay? It's actually Armstrong who has to pay to Messi. So how much Armstrong has to pay to Messi? It's 2.13. Then Horan has to pay to Giffen. Horan has to pay to Giffen. How much is it? It is 2.98. And then the last one is this. Giffen has to pay to Messi. So how much is it going to be? Is it going to be 2.1? Do people understand this? Okay. So once we have actually created this matrix, so what's going to be the next step? What's going to be the next step? We're going to calculate, we're going to perform the subtotals. We're going to perform the subtotals both sides. So perform the subtotal this way, like how much is it going to be? It's going to be 12.17 here. It's going to be 2.98 here. I need to know these two totals. So this would actually give you total receipts, and the total payments would be there downwards. So it is actually going to be 19.78 the payment. Last one is 8.2, and what about the first one? 23.58. Okay, so once we have got these total receipts and the total payments, we've got the total receipts here and we've got the total payments here. So what are we going to do is that we are now going to do the netting. And how is this netting going to be? Total receipts would be posted here. So when we are actually going to post the total receipts here, it's 23.58, it's 12.17, it's 2.98, and it's 8.2. So you'll have the net receipts and the net payment. 23.66. Okay. Okay, so it is 9.36 and what is the last one? 11.58. Okay. Now what actually happens in the netting is if you sum up all of them, you will end up getting a zero. If you sum up all of them, you will end up getting a zero. Okay, so what is this whole netting process telling us? It is actually telling us that is the Armstrong company which has a receipt of net 9.36. The Horan company has a receipt of 5.22. The Messi company has a receipt of 11.58, and Giffen company has a receipt of has got a payment of 3. So now so what is actually going to be the approach, because it says the company owing the largest would pay to the company to whom the lowest amount is to be received. So the first of all, it's actually Messi who is going to settle to Horan, and then at the same time Messi is then going to settle the amount to Armstrong, and then Giffen is gonna settle the amount to Armstrong. Because it's actually the company who has got the highest payable would pay to the company which has got the smallest receivable. Okay. Okay, now you read the last part of the question. You read the last part of the question. First of all, you need to understand that this is what the net receive and net receipt and net payment is. Now you need to understand the last part of the question. The last part of the question says the settlement will be made in the order that the company owing the largest net amount in dollars will settle first with the company owed the last net amount in dollars. So basically the company which needs to pay the highest is going to settle to the company which needs to receive the lowest amount first. That's how the settlement is going to be. Okay, I think that's actually the conclusion of this specific netting question. I hope you people are able to understand this question. Our admin team actually wants to know about the feedback of the today's session. So I would highly appreciate if you people could please share your feedback about today's session, because your feedback actually helps us improve, actually helps us decide that how do we actually, if we are going on the right direction or we need to actually change it. So would appreciate a few feedbacks from you people. Thank you very much. Thank you, Zoeb Ali, for your feedback. Please, if others could also give some feedback. Thank you, Mazhar Abbas. Thank you, Tasnua. Thank you, Nakul Agrawal. Thanks, Abhishek. Thanks, Bilal. Ali Farhan Khan, I think you need to write down in this the same where you're writing down the message. Thank you, Raviva. Thank you, everybody, for your feedback. Just in case if you have got the feedbacks, please do share with us, because as a tutor, they are actually helpful to us in both the cases in order to improve also, and in order for, I mean, it's the best thing that you have as an appreciation as a tutor. So the phone number is actually there on the WhatsApp group. I am actually the admin on the WhatsApp group only. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Ruth Mutuka. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly. Thank you, Ali Farhan Khan. Thank you, Muhammad Azim. Thank you, everybody. What I'm actually going to do in the tomorrow's session is I'm going to start off with the interest rate swaps, and I'm going to discuss the interest rate swaps, and probably I would actually pick up a question on the bond valuations also, because my collar duration and the bond valuation, that is what the area that I'm actually going to focus upon. So hope to see you people again tomorrow, hopefully, inshallah. And till that time, just in case if you have any questions, you could actually go through whatever areas you have, you feel like are tough areas for you people, and you can highlight in the WhatsApp group, or you can even highlight them in the tomorrow's session also, and I would ensure that I would try to cover up them in the remaining sessions. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much.